Thank you for coming, and before we start, as you know, it's a tradition of Cafe Al Fikr that we start the forum with an ayah from the Quran. And with that, I would like to invite our beloved Sheikh Mustafa Rawash to come and recite the ayah for us.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فاعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء وكان وعد ربي حقا صدق ربنا وبلغ رسوله ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين.
جزاك الله خير Sheikh Mustafa. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our cafe forum. And mashallah, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule on a Saturday evening to join us. I see some new faces. So for those newcomers, we do thank you. And for certainly our regular guests, we certainly appreciate your support. It's very refreshing to see also about a third, mashallah, as young adults. So we thank you in advance for taking the part to engage in the cafe forum. I'm assuming that's why you are here. I see some smiles. The topic of discussion is how to make a difference in our community. Our guest speaker is Mr. Stephen Smith, and we will get to that part of the presentation in about 5 or 7 minutes. But first, I'd like to share with you why this ayah is relevant to the topic of discussion. So I was chatting with Sheikh Mustafa a few days ago, and I said, here's the topic of discussion of this evening, and I'm struggling to find an ayah that is reflective of the topic. And immediately, without any hesitation, mashallah, he said, Zulqarnain and Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So Zulqarnain and Gog and Magog. And I said, so I thought a little bit, and he said, well, it's simple. He was faced with a situation that people were facing. There was a threat to them, and someone came with solutions. Is this what you're after? And I said, yes, it is. But the challenging part for us was how to dissect this to make it more relevant to the topic of discussion. And as you know, with the cafe team, we are intrigued and fascinated of correlating principles of leadership and the stories of the Quran. So I'm going to do my best to project both to you, and I hope I do a decent job of that. So this is from Surah Al-Kahf, the chapter of the cave from the Quran. As we know, it consists of 4 stories. The 4th story, which is Zulqarnain, and it speaks to fitna of the power, trial and temptation of power. And as a general knowledge, we know that Zulqarnain, what most agree that he was a righteous king, and he was giving unimaginable powers by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by God Almighty in this earth. And we do know that Zulqarnain was not his name, it was a title. And the Zulqarnain is one of the two horns. There are several interpretations as to why. The two most common ones that I'll share with you is that he ruled from the east to the west. So the east is one horn, the west is another horn. Others say that he ruled over Rome and Persia, Persia being one horn and Rome being another, among other narrations. So when he came and came across this passage, he found people who were completely cut off of civilization according to the Quran, because they had a hard time, difficult time understanding one another. So one to believe that they were completely cut off from civilization. And they said there is this Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog, that they are spreading evil on earth and they are a threat to us. So could you build a barrier between us and them? And he said, we'll build a barrier, we'll build a better barrier. They said a sad, which was a barrier, and he said, we'll build a dam, which is a much stronger than a barrier. And he said, I don't need your money, I don't need anything from you. All I need is manpower, iron, copper. And then he built the dam. So having said that, this is where we're going to get into maybe the leadership principle of what this means to us. So when we look at our goals, so he came in and there was a goal to be accomplished, there was a strategy in place, and there were tactics in place. So when we move forward with a project, we have to look at these three things. We actually add that you have to have the right intention. You have to have the ikhlas, the niyyah in your amal, in your good deed. So if I were to ask you, based on what you heard from Sheikh Mustafa, based on what I shared with you, the story, who would tell me what was the goal of Zulqarnain with the people that he met? It's up on a board. Yes.
To block off Gog and Magog.
To block off Gog and Magog. Excellent. Who else? Yes.
To use the powers that Allah gave him to do a purpose that would help others.
Beautiful. Using the powers that Allah gave him, God Almighty gave him, to achieve this. Beautiful answer. Junior, Dahshan Junior. Anyone else? We're not there yet. Sky, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for coming. Stop evil and spread goodwill. 80%. Yes. Someone raise their hand. No. Yes. To be effective in his community. Excellent. Great answer. We're not there yet. I'm not giving it away. I'm not giving it away. This is important that we think about this, because that's what we miss. We miss the why. All what you said are the what, but we're missing the why.
Give them protection and safety.
Thank you. Protection and safety. So the goal is to protect, which would be along the lines of prevent evil and spread good. Thank you, Ammar Hafar. Okay, so that was the goal. So you have some fans. So now we're going to go to strategy. What is a strategy, by the way? I'm sorry? Plan. Okay, excellent. It's what you want to achieve. Excellent. What is we're going to talk about the strategy, what the strategy is, but what is a tactic? So you have a plan. What is the tactic? Teamwork. A step of the plan. Excellent. So here's one easy way to remember it. Strategy is anything above the shoulder. Think about it. Strategy is everything above the shoulder. Strategy is what you want to do. That's your plan. Tactic is everything below the shoulder. Tactic is the steps. You're going to use everything in your power, in your means to actually execute the strategy. So strategy, it is your thought process, your idea, your plan, you put it together. Tactics, anything below the shoulder, anything that requires actual movement, labor. Okay, so what was the strategy of protecting the people?
Build a barrier.
Build a barrier. Okay, now we're going to go to tactics. What are the tactics? What did he do? And it's up on the board.
You wanted to get the copper, the iron, and manpower.
Yes, so manpower, iron, copper. Those were the tactics. So the plan, hey, look, let's build a dam, and here is how we're going to do it. So the tactics is how we're going to do it. Excellent. So we got manpower, and we got iron, and we got copper. Excellent. Now, let's talk a little bit about Zulqarnain as a righteous king. So this is every one of you who has an idea, a project, something they want to do. And it could be just a daily thing, a routine thing that you do, but I would like you to think of it along the lines that we're going to discuss it. What options did he have when he was presented with this challenge with the people? So they said, we'd like you to build a barrier. He said, okay, I'll build you a barrier. What were his other options? And you want to use your imagination right now. Yes? Thank you. One of the options, they're aggressive, I'm going to use aggression. And that would have been very easy for him because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, gave him unimaginable powers. It's even beyond our comprehension of what powers he had. So he could have easily used aggression against aggression, but he did not. Thank you. What else?
Surrender.
I'm sorry?
Give up arms, like surrender.
Surrender. He could have easily said, look, I'm not sure I'm a match. Maybe he discredited himself. Surrender. What else? Diplomacy. Negotiate. Okay. That's another one. What else?
Use his own people and his own resources.
Use his.
His own army and his own resources rather than utilizing and empowering the community.
So this it goes to Sha'lan's point, teamwork. So he used, he could have used his resources and not the people's resources. So he would combine the two. Excellent. What else? You're on the roll. Come on.
So he's getting the community involved, and the best is in that.
Okay. Excellent.
Almost like Donald Trump making Mexico build the wall.
Like Donald Trump making Mexico build the wall. Excellent. Okay, so good. So we're on the right track. Then he was offered money. What were his options then? The option was to take the money. So we know he didn't. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me more than money. I'm very thankful. So he did not take the money. What else? He said, no, I don't want your money. I just need your manpower, your iron, and your copper. But what else were his options? Speak up.
It would have been taken as an insult. He could have said, "Who you think you are?"
It could have been taken as an insult, okay?
Well, he could have just walked away. And
He could have walked away. Absolutely. What else?
He would make them his constituent and rule over them.
Excellent point. He could have said, I could do this for you, but I'm going to be your new ruler now and live by my law. Excellent point. We have many physicians in the audience. When you walk down the hospital floor, do you see wing donated by so-and-so? You see that. One of his options could have said, I want you to name the dam after me. He did not, right? So he didn't do any of all of that. Why?
Do it for the right intention.
The right intention, thank you. So this is why we say we want to do good and go above and beyond, but we want to do it with the right intention. The right intention is that we're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of God Almighty, and not to gain fame, power, or anything from that sort. Excellent. So this is definitely an excellent start. The final thing is, what I'd like to mention is follow through. So didn't take the money, use his resources, their resources, the people resources, but they asked him for a barrier. He could have easily said, okay, I'll build you a wall, less time for me, but he actually built a dam it's stronger and it takes a lot of hard work. So he did an excellent follow through with executing the strategy, the plan that he had in place, and still was not expecting anything. What does that tell us? When he walked away from that project, what does that story tell us?
He wanted to really perfect it. He didn't want to do it like mediocre kind of work.
Thank you. So when we get involved in a project, like let's say this evening when you submit your ideas, and you want to follow through, you want to not only commit to it with the right attention and execute it, but when your signature is on it, this could be your last project that you're going to be worked on. So you want to leave with a good legacy.